everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Future Doctor Podcast by Gyanberry. Today, I have some amazing guests from a very prestigious university, Charles University First Faculty of Medicine, who is going to educate you about the study opportunities at the faculty and the amazing student experience that they offer for international students. I am Tejas, your co host. I am joined by my colleague Ria, who is our admissions manager. And I'm joined by some special guests. I'm going to introduce each one of them. Firstly, we are joined by Professor Michal Vrablík, who is the Vice Dean for International Studies at the First Faculty of Medicine. Welcome, Professor.
Pleasure being with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then we're joined by Dr. Veronika Vlachová, who is the lead academic coordinator for the admission process for the English division at the faculty.
Hello, excited to be here.
Thank you, Veronika. Welcome. And then lastly, we are joined by Darren Noronha, who is a sixth-year medical student, international student at the faculty. And Darren is one of the students who was placed by Gyanberry at the faculty. So we're very proud of that fact. Welcome, Darren, and thank you for joining.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
Pleasure. So welcome once again. I'm really looking forward to speaking with you, and I'm pretty sure students and parents are going to take a lot away from this discussion as they're really looking forward to apply to the faculty, learn more about the faculty and the opportunities that exist. With that, I will hand over the forum to Ria, who will take forward the question and answer session. So there are some questions which students and parents ask us every time, and they want to ask the faculty. So this is the perfect opportunity to put them forward. Over to you, Ria.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Tejas. All right, so we get started with the questions. So firstly, I would like to ask about Charles University First Faculty of Medicine. If you could brief us about the university, its focus on medicine and dentistry program, a gist of it, an overview from your end, that would be really helpful for all of us.
Well, thank you very much. I think that it should be noted from the very beginning that the First Faculty of Medicine of Charles University is one of the four founding university parts back in 1348 when King Charles IV actually founded the entire university. And therefore, we are the oldest part of, let's say, medical schools that have grown over time, but still we are based in the original historical premises of the university in the heart of the beautiful city of Prague. We're the largest of the three medical faculties based in Prague, and that gives us opportunity to actually have all the services for students and also all the institutes and departments at hand. So it's very easy, and I believe that Darren, who's today with us, will also agree with me. It's easy. The students don't have to travel that much because basically everything's available right here at the First Faculty. And also that pertains not only the theoretical teaching parts, but also the clinical rotations part. So I think that that's a huge advantage of our faculty that, as I said, is the largest, which some say might not be the advantage. But on the other hand, really everything is being prepared and ready, not only the facilities for teaching, but also facilities for extracurricular activities.
Noted. Thank you so much for that overview for us. Coming next, I want to ask about the university campus, the different facilities which are available at the campus, like dormitories, sports club, extracurricular activities for the international students' perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of services for our students. If we can talk about dormitories, every student that is admitted to our faculty is guaranteed a dormitory room. We want to make sure that all of our students have that flexibility. They have the ability to choose what they would like because this dormitory room is assigned to them, but they're able to move out into private accommodation if they'd like. However, we have a number of different dormitories, 5 or 6 dormitories around Prague, some closer university and some a little bit away, again, based on your convenience. And we have tons of facilities in them, such as sport rooms, study rooms, gyms, etc. You do have the option or the choice to move away. For example, I personally live in private accommodation now, a little bit closer to the center. But really, it's up to the student's option. And from the faculty's point of view, we provide you with all of the resources, as well as a dormitory room to make sure that you're able to live comfortably in your first year. In terms of other facilities, we have a student organization, and under that, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about the student organization, other aspects in the future in this call. But to mention a little bit about sports activities, our faculty, in fact, in the first 2 to 3 years, provides physical education for all of our students. So usually on Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning, we fight the cold and we go into the PE. But honestly, it was my favorite part of medical school in my early years. It's something that we remembered, meeting all of our friends in the morning and playing some football. Then so even though in the moment it might seem kind of like some extra work, it was really looking back at it, was really engaging, and you got to create this sort of community with your friends. So we have that already provided by the faculty, but if you want to do some extracurricular activity outside, we have a number of different clubs, such as badminton club, a football team, which is really leading in terms of the faculty tournament that we have here in the Czech Republic. So we have a number of different sports activities, accommodation facilities for you. So in terms of that, we're covered, and we're definitely happy to help any student in any way that they'd like to be.
Wow, I'm sure that's going to excite all our international students. Moving on, I will be further categorizing questions, and we will start with academic and program overview questions. So if you could briefly explain year 1 curriculum, modules, and how are the semester exams being evaluated at the university?
Perfect. So essentially we have, we're a 6-year program in general medicine and a 5-year program in dentistry. And speaking in terms of the general medicine, initially, we have the first 3 years that is preclinical, and 4th, 5th, and 6th year is the clinical years. So in terms of, I'm going to definitely focus a little bit about first year. I'm sure that everyone's curious about this, but as an overview, in first year, we study anatomy and histology. So it's sort of where is everything in the body macroscopically in anatomy and microscopically in histology. We then go into second year and we study physiology and biochemistry. And now in first year that we've studied where everything is, in second year, we learn how things work together in the body. And in third year, we learn pathology and pathophysiology, which is essentially what happens when things go wrong. So all the diseases in the body. And then we practice these different preclinical subjects in the clinical years through specific clinical subjects like dermatology, oncology, orthopedics, etc., internal medicine, etc. So the first year specifically, we have anatomy and histology as 2 larger subjects that you're going to have throughout the semesters. However, you have other subjects such as physical education, PE, Latin, or now that we call it basic medical terminology, that sort of allows you to understand the origin of some of these medical words, which I think is very well taught in our faculty, not done in faculties elsewhere. But I think that in Europe, and especially in our faculty, we care a lot about the origin of medicine. And I believe that a lot of the discoveries, the origins of medicine has come from our faculty. One more point I want to mention is in first year, you're going to study at the beautiful Institute of Purkinje. The Institute of Purkinje is actually our histology building, and it was discovered by Jan Purkinje, who was a Czech scientist who discovered Purkinje fibers found in the heart and found in the cerebellum as well. And these fibers are found in every single biology textbook in the world. So this discovery by a Czech scientist only proves and shows you the origin and importance of the discovery of medicine that sort of comes from our faculty and from Central Europe as well. So that gives you a little bit of a brief as to first year at the overview of our education. But just to add a few more points about the assessments. We have weekly tests for anatomy, so we can have slide test for anatomy or dissection test. We also have a winter dissection and a summer dissection, which you work on real anatomical models and cadavers. and you pass these weekly tests, or you attempt these weekly tests in order to get a credit, and then you have a final exam that happens usually after the summer semester, sometimes in the middle of the year between the winter and summer semester. But everything is laid out properly for you when you start the year.
Maybe I would add here that the examination is taken orally, and we still consider this as an important part of medical training. And you can see that Darren is actually a great communicator, and communication is the essence of modern medicine. And so we insist that our students are also great communicators, and we provide also education towards this end. And I'm really glad we've got Darren with us, who can testify that even, surviving the oral examination is helpful in this respect.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with Professor Vrablík. I want to reiterate that point, that when we have patients in the future, they aren't going to ask us for a 3-page report on their disease. They're going to ask us to explain it to them. They're going to ask us to explain how do they get the disease, how can we treat it. So I think communication is very important. Thank you for that point, Professor Vrablík.
And if I may add also something, I noticed when talking to applicants and their families that sometimes they understand this system, which has historic roots, and I have gone through it myself and consider it a good one, the 3-year theoretical, 3-year clinical. But it has to be stressed that there are what I call glimpses or visits to clinical medicine soon before the 3 clinical years. So, for example, in the first year or at the end, you've got the fundamentals of patient care subject, where you actually learn how to be a nurse, the nursing practices. So you meet the patients, you go to the wards. We've also got a simulation center, which allows you to practice in simulated settings. All the procedures that you will do later on really amazing models that act like real bodies. So glimpses of clinical situations, clinical experience starts in year 1, really. So you don't have to worry that you won't see a real patient for 3 years and then they will throw you at them and swim, as we say in the Czech Republic, throw you in the water and swim. So yeah, glimpses of clinical experience are there from the beginning.
Thank you so much for that detailed insight on the year 1 curriculum. From a high school student's point of view, who had just studied the basic subjects of biology and chemistry, for them, I'm sure this histology or anatomy or these different subjects might become a little overwhelming to cope up with. So in this kind of situation, if the student are not able to pass any particular subject in 1 semester, how many attempts are allowed, and what is the typical dropout rate from first year to the later years, and how is faculty able to support these students in terms of in order to take them forward in upcoming years, basically?
Raya, we are very well aware it is really difficult to study medicine and to start with, sometimes seemingly overwhelming subjects of anatomy and histology. To that end, we support our students throughout the year. There's a number of peer initiatives and activities. We've already touched upon the students' organization called MedSoc that provides guides and tutors, as well as the faculty itself, supervising the students' successes continuously. We have also expanded our international office at the Dean's office. So now we even have so-called well-being officer who might be helping individual needs of individual students to overcome these obstacles of rather not knowing or not studying properly, but rather organization of studies, which might really be difficult and which, to our understanding, is the most frequent cause of failure. And as for the number of attempts, each of our students has got 3 attempts for each individual final exam. Not only that, if if student fails an individual study obligation, she or he always has another, let's say, opportunity to redo the entire subject next year, given the student collects enough credit points. And we, from only this year, instituted a new system of following up the students' successes and, let's say, adding up the credits. And those who basically are slower than the others are being proactively helped by the office staff and also by the peers. So I'm really very pleased to say that last year we actually had a dropout rate as a result of a failure at a final exam of only 9%. So basically we really try to keep all our admitted students in the faculty, and we'd like to do even better. Because to that end, I'm quite sure we're going to be touching upon this subject later on in our discussion. We've developed a system of admission process that really helps us identification of the best students as who are basically best eligible for studying here. And that really is mirrored by the relatively very low rate of those students who need to terminate studies.
Wow, that that will give a lot of relief to our students, knowing that they have somebody who will be supporting them throughout their studies. Moving on to my next question, sir. How many international seats are available for medicine and dentistry program? And after we have been seeing that the entrance exam competition level has been increasing throughout the years. So what is the acceptance rate after the entrance exam is concluded each year?
So we've got 150 seats for general medicine and 30 seats for dentistry. And I like to mention the rate which expresses how many of those who took the exam got the offer, and that is roughly 1/4 for both programs. Obviously, then for some reason, not all of them enroll, but those who get offer, that's the portion.
Noted. Okay, so I'll be asking a few questions about clinical training and facilities now. So if you could elaborate on the clinical training opportunities that are offered to the students, when exactly the training starts, and do students receive hand-on experience? I know you already touched upon that topic previously, but if you could elaborate a bit for our parents, especially because they want to know how much of experience students are going to get during their studies and after, and how it will be helping them after their graduation as well. So if you could elaborate on that as well, please.
Well, I may start saying that basically from the third year on, there's continuous exposure to really hands-on experience in major fields of medicine. So it starts with propedeutics in internal medicine and propedeutics in surgery. And we insist these subjects are being taught at the bedside. So basically all students have the opportunity to talk and to touch and examine real patients. And as Veronika has already said, we all understand that medical students are keen on being exposed to real medicine. So there are these samples of clinical medicine in the theoretical years as well. Also, it needs to be mentioned that during the second year, students undergo training in, let's say, nursing and related fields that is also very much hands-on, and everything's being complemented by summer clerkships that are entirely hands-on, and that can be also done back in the home countries of our students. So that all expands the clinical experience. And basically, as the curriculum proceeds to the 4th, 5th, and 6th year, the amount of clinical rotations and clinical exposure is ever increasing, finished with the entirely clinical pre-state exam rotations that take place in the 6th year. And also, perhaps it's worth mentioning that a part of this training might be organized in the home countries of our international students. Of course, the situations differ country to country, place to place, but the team is here to discuss options and to find solutions. And maybe I would ask Darren now to complement the students' point of view.
Exactly. I think exactly what Professor Vrablík and Dr. Veronika has mentioned. From our 3rd year onwards, so in our 3rd year, we start with propedeutics to internal medicine, propedeutics to surgery. Propedeutics is a fancy word meaning introduction, right? So we introduce them into internal medicine, we introduce them into surgery, and we start mainly by giving them basic tools or knowledge on how to examine patients, because everything, especially students in the younger years, when you're still in your theoretical subjects, there's a lot of knowledge, there's a lot of text or information you need to cram before you can actually use this in the future. So even before we get you into your clinical years, we want to make sure you're up and running in your clinical years. So in our 2nd year, we give you this simulation training, which what we do is we have different scenarios, and these are small groups. So we will only have, with one simulator, we only have a group of about 4 to 6 students. And at a time, only 3 students will be working on one simulator. And during the simulations, we train them on how to identify that something is wrong and how do they essentially escalate that issue to the appropriate staff, or how do we deal with that issue. It's not necessarily about identifying the disease or to treat the patient, but in our 2nd year, we want students to notice that something is wrong and maybe to get an idea of what is wrong. 3rd year, we have introduction to internal medicine, introduction to surgery, and 4th year onwards, all of your classes are actually in hospital. You start every day 2 hours with a lecture from one of the professors, one of the doctors there teaching in that department, and then you have 2 to 3 hours of just running around the wards, looking at different patients. So you can be assigned a patient, you have to do the physical exam, the patient history, and you have to go back to your doctor and explain it. And as a group, we'd sit down and discuss the different diseases we've seen and the different examinations or the different findings we saw in each patient. And the doctor would then go through the case reports with us, complementing the examinations and whatnot. So we sort of have this overall picture. We start them slow and then we get them running in their clinical years. And as well as in the summer internships, we have summer internships as well. So in the summers of your 3rd year, 4th year, 5th year, we have different internships. So in your 3rd year or 4th year, we would start off with a nursing clerkship. Then we have surgery clerkship, internal medicine, and many other clerkships. And as Professor Vrablík mentioned, you have that option if you want to do the clerkships in your home country. So maybe if you want to go home, take a break, stay at home, meet your friends and family, and obviously spend time in the hospital doing this internship, you're able to do so. And if you can't arrange it at home, the university provides you a guaranteed spot at one of their hospitals. So, for example, I was trying to arrange an internship back home, but because of certain legal regulations, I decided to stay here in the Czech Republic and do it. And within a week, I was already assigned a hospital here, and specifically ICHEM, which is the Institute of Experimental and Clinical Medicine, which is the largest transplant center in Central Europe, kidney and heart transplant center in Central Europe. And I was assigned there within a week. So essentially, you have that guarantee of having some clinical experience even in the summer over here. But if you want to do it abroad, you can do that as well. So we have other programs as well, which I want to mention. And the truth is, if I keep mentioning all the programs, this call will be 4 hours long. But we have IFMSA, which is international. We work with them, which is International Federation of Medical Students Association, where you can do clinical internships or research. So specifically, I went for research earlier this year to Indonesia. We also work with the Erasmus program, where you can do clinical exchanges, either semester long, year long, or even a month long internships, research, etc. across Europe. So we have a number of different programs, and these programs are aside from the already denoted structure of training that we have here in clinical education for our students. So you're going to get a wide range of clinical education, and in fact, too much of it. And if anything, you're going to be satisfied with what we provide you.
Wow, thank you so much for all the insights about these programs. I'm sure the students are going to be very excited after hearing this podcasts and about all these programs, they might go and research about them as well. Along with the programs that you mentioned, I would want to understand what are the key facilities or resources, say, for example, teaching hospitals or labs or stimulation centers. And I mean, the university, I'm sure, has their own private or public hospital tie-up. So if you could elaborate a bit on these aspects as well.
Well, it definitely needs to be mentioned that the university, or I should say the first faculty of medicine, has its own both theoretical and clinical premises in full spectrum of teaching. So basically everything is just around the main campus and within walking distance. Though we collaborate with a number of other hospitals so that students can be distributed in very small working groups to see particular situations and particular medical programs. As Darren has already mentioned, we collaborate with specialized centers, though I got to say that the basic, let's say the core clinical facility affiliated with the first faculty of medicine is the General University Hospital, which is just next door to the premises of the first faculty. So you really don't need to search and travel far because everything is at a hand. And as for the dentistry programs, it's worth mentioning that we've only recently renewed the shams halls, sham theaters, where basically students can practice before they are allowed to do dentistry procedures in real patients. So everything's ensured that patients and also students are on the safe side. So no worries, we are going to guide you through the process, start at models and then proceed smoothly to patients. And fortunately, our dentistry department has brand new equipment suitable to fit 30 students, no problem. So everybody has got her or his own spot. So that's just the brief overview. But as I said, we are very complete in terms of the extent of equipment.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for that detailed insight as well. So briefly, we touched on the topic of research in our initial conversation. So I want to understand, how do students get involved in the research activities and what are the opportunities available for the students?
Well, I may start once again. So yeah, we try to facilitate this aspect as well, you know, from the faculty's perspective. So the Vice Dean for Research Matters is involved in coordinating the initiatives, and we are trying now to establish even smoother way to register as lab assistants or research group assistants for our students who are interested. Because to our surprise, this is very much wanted, and a lot of our students are deeply interested in joining research projects. And to that end, what is also very helpful is the students group that's called Academic LF1, that basically coordinates the, let's say, research collaboration between students and the research groups within the faculty. And I'm quite sure that Darren would be able to comment more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Professor Vrablík. I will say that for research, our faculty is very big on research. Not only our faculty, but the entire Charles University umbrella is huge on research. Research is very important in medicine because we want to learn and develop new technology, new treatments, new medication, whatnot for our patients. In our faculty, there's definitely an abundance of research. I will tell you that it is up to the students' motivation if they want to pursue that. So the opportunities are there, but it's the individual motivation if you want to do it. So personally, I am also motivated in research. I feel it's very important, not only for your own development and learning the different aspects of medicine, because you want to be a complete doctor, not only clinical medicine, but also participate in research and at least have the knowledge as to how to interpret and read research and know what's coming out of this. I think is very important for medical students. So we do have, as Professor mentioned, many different student organizations that teach you about research, but we also have the faculty and staff in each of these wonderful academic premises that we do conduct research. So personally, I do research in anatomy, in cardiology specifically, and that is again with my own motivation because I want to go into clinical medicine in cardiology. So there is something for everyone, but it's definitely up to your motivation as to what research and what type of research, how long you want to do, because there's a number of different types of research. You can get into a program such as a case study. You could do that in 6 months, for example, or you could get into a longer, more intense, which involves microscopic slides and histology and pathology. That could take 1 or 2 years. So it's really up to you and your motivation. But if you are interested in research, we have professors that are willing to get you on board, to teach you, to take you under their wing, and to make sure that you're definitely well equipped with whatever resources you need in research.
It should be perhaps also mentioned that the first faculty of medicine ranks highest in the comparison with other medical schools in the Czech Republic and also in, let's say, the neighboring area in terms of research output. And if you really want to meet top researchers and top research personalities, the first faculty of medicine is the right choice, because we've got definitely the highest amount of presidents of medical associations among our professors. So yeah, if you're into research, then the faculty is the right choice.
I'm sure students are excited to join. Moving on, I would ask you a few questions about admissions, because now that the applications are going to start soon, we receive a lot of queries about what is the admission requirements for the international students, and as well as for EU students, we do get some queries from them as well. So if you could elaborate on the requirements from this year onwards.
So this is my part. We require the students to complete their secondary education with a diploma, and to be able to prove this by enrollment. So no, not at the time of the application submission or the entrance exam, but by enrollment. Together with that, they obviously need to pay the tuition fee for the first year in full before enrollment again. Now, the most important part would probably be the admission exam, which we have. It has 2 rounds, and the first round is a written test that takes 90 minutes, and it's on biology, chemistry, and physics and logical thinking. Each part has 25 questions. It's positively marked, so if there is a question left or an answer left blank or an incorrect one, points are not taken. They're only added for correct answers. So that is our written test that we will, and we are looking forward to that occasions, do with Gyanberry as well on several occasions. And those who are successful in round 1 proceed to round 2, which is our interviews. And this is what Professor Vrablík was mentioning. We are trying to make sure that the students who are admitted to our faculty not only have the knowledge, but also the communication skills that are necessary not only to be successful at their studies, but also to be successful in Europe, far away from home, to be able to make friends, to be able to ask for help if they need it. So for several reasons, we have implemented interviews in our admission system, and the format is the MMI, which is a standard format for the admissions process for medical faculties. In this format, there are stations. In our case, it's 5 stations, and the focus is on skills such as critical thinking, invention, communication skills, and also personal attributes that help the student succeed in the studies and become a safe and successful practitioner. So that's our admissions process at a glance.
Right. Thank you so much for that. So, if we have to say that, how do you evaluate a student? I mean, entrance exam is pretty clear. They have to make right choices. They get certain number of marks or points, and then they are shortlisted. But in terms of when we say MMI, for each station, they are evaluated separately, and then they get a collective points. And is there a cutoff that they have to meet in order to get the positive admission decision?
Yes.
How are the students evaluated?
As I've mentioned, when we were talking about the interviews, right?
Yes.
The focus is on the way they present themselves and they present their answers. So we focus on, and I'm literally now talking about the topics: critical thinking, simple calculation, out of the box thinking. New for this year also motivation to study medicine and to withstand what it takes. And we also have a role play session included in the MMIs where we really focus on handling a difficult communication situation. And there's a standardized way of assessing the students that we cannot share, obviously. But we make sure that all our applicants get a fair chance to pass, and the conditions are the same for everyone. I would maybe like to stress, if the question doesn't come from your side, that even without us sharing details from the exam, the students already can pick up on, for example, the format of the individual round. The first one is a single best answer test, so the students can practice for that, just practicing the format, the single best answer format. Sorry. And as for the interviews, they last around 10 minutes each, so the student can practice talking on a topic for 10 minutes, changing topics, asking a family member or a friend to practice with them. So there are always ways to prepare for the exam without knowing exactly what's going to be asked. And that helps the student get rid of the stress connected with the exam and focus on what is going to be the focus.
Right. Yes. So I want to ask, if the student has passed the entrance exam and they did not do really well on their high schools, does high school marks make any difference on the admission decision?
No. Neither we, on the other hand, accept things like references or personal statements. We have our criteria, and that is completed secondary education with a high school with a diploma, entrance exam, tuition fee payment. But yeah, we do not look at the grades from the secondary education, but neither do we accept references or personal statements to enhance the chances.
All right. Right. So about the tuition fees, if you could let us know what is the tuition fees for the first year, and are there any installment plans available for the students to make the payments?
Maybe I shall start with that, because the current tuition fee is in the range of 24,000 euro annually. And installment is theoretically possible, but we always evaluate each application for installment plan individually. So it cannot be generalized. It cannot be said that installment plan is here to be offered to everyone. And also, it's definitely very needed to say that the first year typically needs to be paid in full in advance during the enrollment process. It's a condition. Then in later years, of course, the installments are more frequent and we can discuss with students and, according to their options. But the first year, we basically insist on having the full tuition fee paid by the enrollment date.
Understood. Are there any scholarships available for international students?
Well, Raya, we are now in the process of designing the conditions on which we are going to be granting a certain number of scholarships to our extremely well-performing students. The conditions will be released, I hope, within a period of 6 weeks or 2 months, because it's a lot of negotiations, but definitely scholarships are going to be presented to the public soon.
Yeah,
Wow.
and if I may add, we actually already do have academic scholarships, and Professor Vrablík is working to get us even more, which is awesome. We do have excellent academic achievements. So if you place in the top 10% of your year, of any year, you do get a certain scholarship for that. Now, it's not in terms of percentage, but based on the number of students that will get it, there'll be a fund that will be divided and sent directly to the students. So we have these academic scholarships, and you can also get scholarships in other ways by helping out the faculty. So it could be in terms of teaching. So personally, I was a teaching assistant for physiology for about 2.5 to 3 years. And in that way, I was receiving regular scholarships from the department, whether I was teaching theoretical physiology or simulations. In the same way, when you get into higher years of education, you can become teaching assistants. You could help out the teachers. And in all honesty, I really do feel that it is very beneficial to have our students teaching, because in order to teach a subject, you actually need to know more than the person just listening to it, you know? I really do feel like you can, it's very important for our students. So teaching scholarships, helping out at faculty, different events, and obviously academic scholarships. That's done once a year if you place in the top 10%, which generally means if you get all A's and if you pass it in your first try, which is completely doable. I should be waiting for my scholarship from last year this week. So it is completely doable. It's definitely possible. And as long as you're consistent, you can definitely get a scholarship. We have some more on the way, and fingers crossed, these are going to be even bigger and better than what we already have. So by the time any of the students join, there's going to be some even more accessible and larger scholarships available for you. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Darren. You know, I was thinking and was tuned towards the new stuff that we are just
Exactly.
So thanks for reminding me of.
No, but thank you for working. Thank you for working on the new scholarships.
And maybe I will add, we might be touching this a bit later, that the income, what we have in comparison with the tuition fee isn't huge, but with regards to the cost of living and studying in the Czech Republic and in Prague, it can actually cover your accommodation for the month, for example. So it is and it isn't significant. It depends what you take into account. So maybe that is a topic we'll be touching later as well.
Absolutely. So that is going to excite all the parents who are going to listen to this podcast, that there are going to be scholarships coming soon for your child. So be prepared. Now that we have touched upon the cost of living of Czech Republic, I would want to know about what are the accommodation preferences of international students, and how much is the cost of living for them to plan their full budget of their 1-year studies.
Yeah, I mean, great question. So as you mentioned earlier, Czech Republic is a very affordable city. So you can have really all options. And what I've seen is that the international students really are spread out in their decisions, whether they'd like to stay up in the dorms or whether they'd like to stay in private accommodation. Once you get accepted into our faculty, you will get an accommodation room guaranteed for yourself. That would range anywhere from and we're talking about in dirhams now or in Czech crowns. Which one's going to be better for everyone?
I think even dollar or euro will be, I think, and
Okay,
accept it.
let's mix it up then. Okay, so let's say about 500 to 700 dirhams a month would be your dormitory rooms, which is one of the most affordable, not only in the Czech Republic, in Europe as well. So 500 to 700 dirhams, roughly 3 to 5,000 Czech crowns, maybe slightly higher than that since there's inflation going on. And you can also stay in private accommodation. So me personally, I moved into private accommodation in my first year. A lot of students, they live with roommates. So after their first 2 weeks, after they get introduced to their classmates, they tend to find a buddy who is in their class or in their year and live with them. So I stayed with one of my friends that was in school with me in an apartment in Prague too, a little bit, which was a 5-minute walk from the university. And so when you're sharing with another person, you're going to be paying in dirhams, maybe 2,000 to 3,000 dirhams a month. And that's if you're sharing with someone, and that's again right at the center. So 5-minute walk from university. That's not exactly what I do now. But if you'd like that option, that's definitely available for you. And then you can also get another one, which is a studio or your own apartment, which can be anywhere from let's say 2,500 to 4,000 dirhams. So essentially, there is a place for there's a place for everyone, right? If you want something more affordable, we have the dormitories and we have other private accommodation a little bit away from the center for you. If you want to live comfortably, we have studio apartments, private apartments for yourself or for a roommate or multiple roommates. So there's really an option for everyone in Prague. I know that's true in Dubai as well. There's an option for everyone in Dubai. Whichever class you come from, how much ever you earn, there's always a place for you in Dubai. And it's very similar to Prague. And definitely, I feel overall it is much, much more affordable. One of the most affordable cities in Europe. Again, I use the word affordable, not cheap, because you're definitely going to get what you pay for. So it's affordable, you get what you pay for, and it's a very nice community wherever you live in. So I'm quite happy with my living situation personally. And I've lived in private accommodation for the last 5 years, with roommates and now without one. So I'm very happy. Prague is a very safe city. That's something I want to mention. I know coming out of Dubai, something that a lot of students and parents look for is the safety. And I can tell you that Prague is an extremely, extremely safe city. In the last 5.5 years I've been here, I've never seen any serious crimes or anything worth mentioning on this podcast. But I know that's definitely a concern for a lot of parents and students coming from UAE. But rest assured, Prague and knock on wood, Prague will stay safe. It's a very safe city, and you could walk around Prague at any time of the night, any time of the day, and it's really no one's going to trouble you. So I'm quite happy with my living situation here.
If I may add to this, just a comment. That what I appreciate about Prague is I think it can accommodate all sorts of expectations. You can live really cheaply in Prague if you need to or choose to or whatever, but you can get a very high standard of living as well within a couple of weeks or months of searching around once you arrive and kind of settle maybe in your accommodation, just as Darren said. So it has a lot to offer, and you can just spend your 6 years sitting inside, but also spend them kind of outside and you seeing and experiencing things while actually staying safe, just as Darren has mentioned. So yes, there's something for everyone, really. High standards as well as affordable, almost I would say cheap way for the student to.
It perhaps needs also to be mentioned that we are here at the first faculty to help our students basically to navigate the options. And also we started a new program, which is called Induction Course, where which is organized at the very beginning of studies between the enrollment and the beginning of the first academic year, where you have opportunity to basically get to know your peers and students around you, and you can make friendships and also perhaps find a buddy for a shared apartment. So basically, yes, the options are multiple.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of our female, students, parents are going to be happy to hear that it's a very safe city, and their daughters are going to be safe at Czech or in Prague, precisely. Moving on, I would like to ask about the licensure and medical practice. So, can you explain the process for the students who wish to pursue postgraduate education at Charles University First Faculty of Medicine or in other parts of Europe? What are their options, and are they guided well right from the beginning? Are they been sorry, have they been well informed about their options?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I maybe can start with this. I'm really at that stage now where I've finished the jump from high school to medical school. Now I'm at that jump from medical school to practice, and I'm really at this stage trying to figure out these licensing exam. Not a lot of figuring out because everything is quite straightforward, really. Whichever country you want to go and practice in, they're going to have their own licensing exam. If you want to go to the US, you have your USMLE. If you want to go to the UK, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Well, it's easier for our students, thankfully. If you graduate from the UK, you can directly get into practice. However, from 2024-25 onwards, you will have to do the UK MLA. So even UK graduates will have to do their exam. If you graduate outside the UK, you'd have to do PLAB, but that's also being replaced by the UK MLA. As of now, European graduates do not have to do the PLAB or any other licensing exam to get into the UK. That could change in the future based on when the students actually graduate, because an incoming student now would be 6 or 7 or 8 years down the line. So definitely there can be changes. But as a general overview, there is licensing exams for whichever country you want to go and practice in. And the root of all of it is our degree recognized there? And yes, it is. It's recognized in the US, it's recognized in UK, it's recognized all across. Even if you would like to come back to Dubai and practice, you could practice there after clearing a few DHA or Dubai Health Authority exams. In terms of support, we have our student organization that definitely tries to support our students in training for these exams, because these exams, I know I just mentioned them as exams, but they're quite hefty exams. The USMLE, for example, is a 3-step exam, where the first one we train in the preclinical knowledge. So what we do is we definitely have group discounts for different software or e-learning platforms that our students can use. We have tutoring or classes that can be done with the student organization or as a group of students working together as a community in our faculty. But and we also have a number of different speakers that come to speak on how to, or different alumni that come to speak at our faculty on how to get in there into these different places. So, for example, we had Dr. Rodi, who is one of our alumni who graduated about 6 years ago, who's now an orthopedic surgeon in the UK. So he recently just came down not only to give a surgical skills workshop, but also to explain to us how do we improve our CVs, and the pathway into the UK. Currently, and actually in an hour, I'm going to run for another lecture on acute coronary syndromes done by another alumni who's from Greece called Dr. Dimitropoulos. And he graduated, I think, about 1992. He's about 50 years old now, and he practices in endocrinology. So he's actually in town right now giving a speech. And he also does a CV clinic, which I have my CV clinic on Friday, where he sits down with you, takes a look at your CV, and actually interviews you as if sort of a mock interview. So we have those resources, especially from our graduates who've already gone to practice in a number of different places, from our student organization, from the faculty. So wherever you're geared up to go, it's your decision. You have that flexibility, and the world is really yours, and you can go and practice wherever you'd like to. We're recognized everywhere, and we're going to give you that support to get into practice wherever you'd like to be.
Darren, could you also touch upon the licensure to practice in Czech Republic or within the European Union itself if somebody doesn't want to go to the US or UK?
Okay. So within Europe, the number one recommendation I will have is to learn the language, right? So even before the licensing exams, I'll tell you whichever country in Europe you'd like to go and practice, learn the language. This is number one. So if I want to go practice in Germany, I need to know German. If it's in the Czech Republic, I need to know Czech. Now, we give you classes in Czech, for example, in our first 3 years for free, part of your course, both medical and general check. So we train you with that check, and it's up to you. I mean, obviously you have to pass the exams and check, but in the end, it's up to you in your clinical years if you really want to master check as a language, which you can or you may not. So for me personally, I'm not great at languages and I don't know Czech, but I'm able to study in this faculty and you know, do a decent job at it. But if you are interested in Czech, and I know some students are definitely interested in staying back here in the Czech Republic, you first have to do a language exam, and then you possibly have to go on and do some licensing exam and that sort. So again, it's the same in Europe, but my first recommendation is to learn the language and work on your language skills during medical school so that you could get done with this language exam, and then you can focus on more specific requirements. It can be different in individual countries, referring to what you need to already bring in terms of CV and research and whatnot, or it can be just one exam that you have to do. So it's different in different countries, but Europe languages and US, UK, well-defined course or pathway of examinations. I would say that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Why are we here? No, I mean, I wouldn't explain it better myself, but maybe I will just add that if the students wish to stay in the Czech Republic, it's the same. So basically, their title entitles them to stay and work here. They have to register with our society, but the language is done. So it's usually the recognition is there. Then it depends whether there is a license exam, might and might not be, and then the language is the third thing. And I have forced several times our officers to give me, because everyone is asking, and I'm like, can you give me a guide? And they're like, but it keeps changing, you know. So actually what we and they tell us, and we are now focusing on this, is our alumni, because we need to constantly be connecting our alumni with our students and allow them to connect and find study buddies and listen to experiences that are a year, maximum a year old, not more. So this is the real answer to this question, to be honest.
But, you know, I think that it needs to be stressed out that basically the diploma that every graduate receives from the first faculty of medicine, Charles University, opens the door to basically all markets in the world.
Yes.
And then, of course, all the different requirements may be in place, but basically the graduation from our medical school provides you with the best starting point possible.
Absolutely. I think this is what the parents, you know, ideally would want to have for their children, like the doors opening up after they graduate, like they can go anywhere in the world. So I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely. So we are coming to the end of this podcast, and I have a last two questions left with me. Firstly, how do you envision the future of medical education at Charles University First Faculty, especially with the ongoing advancement in the technology and medicine?
Well, you can, of course, imagine we are living the future nowadays. So now we are employing more and more AI tools and are also teaching into AI because basically everything's developing so rapidly. It's also worth mentioning we are expanding our simulation center where students basically can have hands-on but very safe experience, not being able to harm anybody. And this facility is going to be doubled in size and capacity in a few years' time. But already it is the largest facility of its kind here in Prague. So basically, we believe that we are going to be expanding also the, let's say, portfolio of our e-tools. So already now students can widely use different databases to facilitate their learning online, like MBOS. And we are now, together with Darren, actually in the process of evaluating the offer from Osmosis. So these are all e-tools to basically enable students to be up to date with the, let's say, world's most modern medicine. And that's definitely the future. So, you know, we are going to be expanding in all those things that are going to facilitate teaching and make it easier, because we are aware that the overwhelming world of medical information is difficult to navigate, and we are going to be concentrating also on teaching our students how to find the best and easiest way through the ever expanding field.
Also, if I may add, there is a huge focus, as already has been mentioned, on research and on actually being able to use critical thinking at least. The other huge focus is on communication skills, which I'm so proud of that our hospital is, I would say, piloting, which wouldn't be fair, for faculty, but we really are very much into this. And so not only advancements in technology and in procedures, but also in ethics and communication, and focus on competence, on really being able to handle basic medical situations the moment you start working on your own, wherever you are and whoever you are.
Right. So lastly, what message would you like to give to our students who are planning, who are preparing to get their admissions at Charles University First Faculty of Medicine?
Well, I'll start. I should say that our motto is that students are at the heart of everything we do. And we are here basically for our students because we are fully aware that we need them to graduate and after all look one day after us as well. So basically don't be afraid, be confident, because we're here to help you. And that would be my principal message to all prospective students.
I tend to say, try to imagine yourself being here. Try to figure out as many information as you can to be able to imagine yourself studying with us, and ask yourself if that is what you would like for yourself. And don't underestimate the admissions process, but don't let it scare you, because it's we are looking forward to meeting you, to getting to know you better, and we are here even at the stage of the admissions process. We are a team, and we are there to help you, especially with the interviews, to get the best out of you. And maybe I would just promise that we will treat you well. We know how to.
Amazing. I just have one point. I mentioned this to a lot of younger medical students or high school students, for example. And I say that when doctor is put at the end of your name, at the end of your 6th year, it is not a title, it's a responsibility. Right? So you can carry that responsibility. You don't have that responsibility, doesn't need to start when you join our faculty. You can carry on that responsibility into high school, into your daily life. And I definitely feel that we're going to take care of you. If you come and apply to our faculty. And also something that I wished I had when I left high school is options, right? So definitely come and apply to our faculty, have that option for having one of the best medical education in Central Europe. Because you always want to have options before it's too late. So come join our faculty, come join our family. We're excited to have you, and good luck for your entrance exams and your future.
Right. Ria, do you have any more questions?
No, that is it. Thank you so much for all the detailed insights, and I'm sure this is going to be really helpful for all our students. And probably after this, they will not have any questions, but if there will be, we will definitely get in touch with you.